Oh, bom dia. Pretty tired this morning. Recently we had 2 of our dogs spayed and neutered, and our big German Shepherd isn't very happy and she's very tired. But today's video is going to be basically troubleshooting Ethernet cable. So I have an Ethernet cable that runs into my office here, and it comes from a switch, and it goes all along, and this is outdoor, indoor Ethernet cable into the shed, up into the top to another router. And the whole purpose of that router is to extend the Wi-Fi access out into around the pond and also around the deck. But one of the main purposes is to link to my solar panels, so I can get the solar data per day on how well it's generating electricity. And the problem right now is this cable is testing out that it has a short in it. It still operates, but the speeds are really low, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So first I'm going to show you what the speed is at the house on my Wi-Fi router here locally. Around the office, the main deck, stuff like that. So I am connected to, you can see here, the 5G side. This is the side I'm going to test. What I'm going to test, I'm going to use Google speed test. I can use any. It's just you got to use the same test for everything. That's all that counts. Okay, so I got 489 down, 162 up, and that's good. Now we're going to go out to the PIO and test out there and see how well it's doing. What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter? You got food. Yep. Okay, so the router is right above me. It's right up there, right in that overhead. So let's change to the local network out here, and we're going to go Budfrogs 5G, and let's do a test again. .39 down, 4.39 down, and 7.8 up. That's absolutely disgusting. So for me, one thing I'm a performance freak. If it says it's supposed to be doing 100 megabits down and 100 megabits up, it better do 100 megabits down and 100 megabits up. So I'm going to show you the next test that I did. And then from there, we're going to build a replacement cable, and before we even install it, we're going to test it. And the reason we're going to do that is because I didn't do that on the cable that I got, and I've already ran it, and somewhere along the path there's a problem. So what I have already done is this. I've inspected every inch of this cable. What I did is I looked for crimps, breaks, things like that. And the fault that I'm getting in this cable is that it's a short. What's the matter? Is a short. And a short means 2 wires are connected together. That either is at the end of the cables or it has to be somewhere in between. And in checking this cable, there's no cuts in the cable, there's no crimps, there's no breaks, there's nothing that looks like it was bound up and maybe the wires inside broke. So it has to be a manufacturer defect. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you some of the other troubleshooting that I have done to test this cable. We saw at the shed the data rate was low, but we're getting data. In other words, I had internet access out there. Right here is my output of the solar panels, and the only way for this to show up in my browser is for the data to come through the shed Wi-Fi router to the internet. So I know I'm getting data and everything's talking. It's just doing it really slow. And like I said, I'm a performance freak. So I like things to go fast. Like I like my solar panels to generate a lot of power like this. This was a good day. So let's go to cable test. I'll show you on port 1. It's a good port and what a normal reading looks like. So came back normal, cable distance 16 meters. So on a normal test result, this is a good estimate of what the actual length of the cable is. Port 9 is the bad cable, so let's test that. Came back as a short, says it's at around 17 meters. I've checked the cable casing. I can't find any indents, any cuts, any breaks in the outer casing. So internally, it has to be a problem with 2 of the wires inside there. So this is what's finally brought me to the point to just replace the whole cable. The frustrating part of this is that cable was 100 meters. I cut it at about 70 meters, and since then it's a little bit shorter since I've replaced the connectors on both ends, thinking that maybe the short was in the connectors, and the results have never changed since trying that portion of the test procedures. But I am getting my data, so let's move on to the next step, and that is to put cable connectors on the end of the new cable I got and test before I even run this cable to where we want it. Okay, I'm going to get ready to put the connectors on. I just want to show you a couple things. Here on the computer screen, these are the cable diagrams that you can use for the connectors. Here is basically a video that I did from a previous connector that I connected. The wire colors on here are very similar. Probably not easy to see. I don't know if I can. This end of the cable and this end of the cable, the way you wire them in here, they just have to be the same. So if you start with blue on the right and go to different colors to the left, then the other end has to be the same. So that's what I'm worried about. And then I have a cable tester here. I'll run a test on the cable, and if the cable tests satisfactory, then I know this whole length, which is 100 meters, is good, and then I can, unfortunately, have to cut off the ends because I can't fit it through the holes that I've got, and then run it back the way the other cable was. So I've stripped back the shielding a little bit and untwisted the wire pairs. And basically it's brown, striped, brown, green, striped blue, blue, striped green, orange, stripe. So I'm following the T56-8B format. I just got to make sure that the other end is the same. Here's the connector. The good thing about these connectors, I don't have to worry about the cable length because they push through, and when you crimp them, they automatically cut the ends. So let's see if I can get this in, get it in the right spots. Push, push, see them come through. It's also a great way to double check your color codings to make sure that they're, you know, in the right order. And then I'm going to push it a little further until this blue is right to there. And then basically, to be honest, this is the hard part. It's getting all those little wires through the spot. Okay. So they're all the way through. And basically once they're in, this will cut off the wires to the right length and it'll crimp the connector on. Fall off. Voila. So I prepped the other end. I'm going to go ahead and insert it. Alright, let's get it in there. Crimp it off. So what I'm going to do is plug in my the cable that I put the connectors on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, right here in the office, plug in one end to the switch and one end to the laptop, and I'm going to go into TP-LINK and run a cable test on it. And the goal is to get a normal indication. Once I get that normal indication, then I know this cable is good. So then when I do have to cut off one of these connectors to get it through the hole, I'm going to see if I can get away with not doing that. Then when I put the connector on, if I get a bad fault, I know it's just because I put the connector on wrong. But my switch is right here. So I'm just going to plug it into one of the ports here, probably 13. And then over here on my laptop, I'll disconnect this cable and plug this end into here and do a test with TP-LINK. It's in port 13. 13 is showing data transfer. And let's go over to cable test. Again, I'll test port 1. It says open. Oh, it's because there's nothing on port 1. Port 1, port 5. Oh, there we go. Port 5, normal. The reason port 1 is open is that was my computer cable and I disconnected it. So that test is actually valid. So here's 13. Let's test it. And it's normal. So that's a good feeling. So now when I go to run this cable, I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. All right, I'm going to test it with my meter, and I'll show you what those results are. So I'm going to connect each end of the cable to my tester. This is an end termination, and this is the testing end. You can actually, if you're at either end, you can watch the lights here and see if all the cables are testing sat. If the light lights up, that's a good indication. If there's no light, it's a bad indication. So I just plug in this end over here. I plug in this end over here, and I move it to test. Make sure it's plugged in all the way. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a good test. Alright, now I've got to replace the other cable. Okay, we have the cable installed. We did the test with the meter. Now we're going to do the final test with TP-LINK. Go to monitoring. Got data flow on port 1. Actually, let's clear it and refresh. Data flow on port 1, data flow on 5, and port 9. Port 9 is to shut. Let's do a cable test. Port 1, that actually is going to my laptop. Port 5, don't know where that's going. Port 9. And we have a normal indication, which means we are good to go. Ethernet troubleshooting has been concluded. So I ran the new cable, and it's like 3 hours later, but I had to redo one of the ends because I had a pin crossed, and I used the TPLINK test to test it. So let's test the Wi-Fi and see what the speed is now out at the shed. And what we want is not Budfrog's 2.4, we want Budfrog's 5, because that'll be the highest speed. And let's do speed test, run. Yeah, baby, look at that. It's not going to be as high as it was over at the other router because of the length of cable, but those speeds are still excellent. Very happy, very happy. This job is done. And I have my performance. So, alright, can't complain. I just had to spend the money for an extra cable. That just kind of made me mad. It's not what I would say, but I don't want to get a infringement on YouTube and saying the bad words. Ciao.